Hi you guys, this is Mrs. Belknap, and I wanted to show you how to do your map today so you'd have this video to refer back to in case you didn't understand. Just to remind you, we're working on Standard 6A, 6B, and 6F today with the extension of the United States to the west. 6A, I can identify the Louisiana Purchase and explain the roles Thomas Jefferson and Lewis and Clark played in expanding U.S. territory. 6B, I can explain how warfare and diplomacy helped establish the continental United States. This word diplomacy means agreements with other countries. So we're going to look at the agreements that we had with other countries that gave us new territory. Then we're going to also focus on this one here, describe the causes and effects of the Texas Revolution and the Mexican-American War. And then 6F, I can define manifest destiny, identify territories on a map and explain how each territory was acquired as a result of manifest destiny. Explain how the completion of manifest destiny led to arguments over the spread of slavery. We're going to come back to that one on a later date. Really, our main focus today is getting this map done so that you have an idea of where things happened, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the effects of those things, and you'll read about how we got those territories. All right, so you're going to use the Google Classroom if you have not already, and on the Google Classroom you're going to find a link to an interactive map. So if you click on the classwork and the interactive map, you'll get this notification here. You just click on it and allow it, and you see this beautiful map right here. An interactive map just means that you can click on things and it will show you different parts of the map. What we're most interested in is how the United States gained the territory that meant that we stretched from the Atlantic to the Pacific. All right, on this map here, here's the Atlantic Ocean, here's the Pacific Ocean, and the idea of manifest destiny was that it was the God-given right of the United States to stretch from the Atlantic to the Pacific. When the American Revolution ended in 1783, I'm going to click on this one, the United States looked like this here in yellow. Okay, this is the Mississippi River, and that was the western boundary of the United States. If you look on your map, what I'd like for you to do, you have this piece right here. I would like for you to add the date 1783 as a reminder to you that that is what the United States looked like in 1783. All right, next you'll click on the Louisiana Purchase, and you see that purple color pop up. The Louisiana Purchase was made in 1803. All of this land here in purple was bought from France. So on your chart, you're going to add that. You'll see I typed it in here. You'll write it in. You'll write France in 1803. We purchased it for $15 million. You can add that piece of information. All you really need to know is that we bought it from France. Purchased is a synonym for bought. Now, at the time, what President Thomas Jefferson wanted was the city of New Orleans, which is down here at the base of the Mississippi River. All of the farmers here in the West would use the rivers. They put their food on the rivers, and they would float it down the Mississippi, and they would sell it here in New Orleans. They'd put it on ships. It would go down to South America, to Florida, to the Caribbean islands, to the east coast of the United States, or even across the Atlantic to Europe. Because in 1803 there were not major roads, there was no railroad, the rivers were the best way to transport goods, and so we had to have the ability to buy and sell things in New Orleans. Well, France was going through a war at the time, and so their leader, Napoleon, said, well, I'm not going to sell you just New Orleans. Why don't you take all of Louisiana? So he took all of Louisiana for $15 million, and it doubled the size of the original United States. It was a pretty good land deal. All right, next we come down to Florida. All right, so you'll see Florida is in two parts. The only one you really need to worry about is this one here, 1819. And you see it says ceded by Spain. So from what country? You'll write Spain here, 1819, and ceded. Ceded just means, is another word for bought or purchased. To cede something is to give something. So the land was given to the United States by Spain, and that was another purchase. All right. You can ignore the next two, Red River and Webster Ashburton. Go on down to Texas, click on Texas, and you'll see that it tells us Texas was annexed, or it was annexed, so it's this word annexation, in 1845, right? It doesn't tell us what country, but that's because Texas was an independent republic. It was its own country. And so you can write Texas here under from what country, when 1845, and how annexation. Annexation means an extension of. So like this year, our class is in a quad. The quad is an annex of Herndon High School. We are outside of Herndon, but we are still part of Herndon High School. Okay, so Texas was annexed by the United States in 1845. That's going to create a very tense situation, which I'll come back to in a minute. All right. The next thing, oh wait, before I forget, make sure that you fill in both Florida, write in Florida here, and Texas here with the date and how we got it. Okay, so complete your map. All right, the next one in order is the Oregon Territory. So you see that's up here in what we call the Northwest. Originally, we wanted the line to be all the way up here. And the president at the time, his name was President Polk, was willing to go to war against Great Britain for that land, but he didn't go to war. They end up settling it here on the 49th parallel. So the Oregon Territory was ceded by Great Britain in 1846. So under country, you would write Great Britain. Under year or when, 1846. And how, ceded by Great Britain. Remember, ceded means bought or purchased. So we bought that territory from them in 1846. All right, go ahead and click on, well, I'll go ahead and click on the Mexican Cession and the Gadsden Purchase. Okay, so then I'm going to close this legend here. All right, the next was the Mexican Cession. On your map, it says Southwest. Those are the same things, okay? Remember that ceded means that's who you got it from. The Mexican Cession, or the Southwest Territory, was gained from Mexico in 1848 by the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. It came after a war with Mexico and the United States, okay? And so it gained for the U.S. all of this territory here. Today, these states are California, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Arizona. Oh, I'm sorry, New Mexico and Arizona. And now they're part of the United States. The last little bit of territory is this one right here, the Gadsden Purchase. The Gadsden Purchase we bought from Mexico in 1853. The reason that we wanted this little bit of land is because it was flatter than here. Up here you've got the Rocky Mountains, which is a pretty significant mountain chain. And by the 1850s, the nation was looking to build a railroad that would go from the east to the west to California. And they thought it would be best to put the railroad through that territory, and so they offered Mexico money to purchase that. Okay? All right, so make sure you go ahead and finish your map, and I will see you when you're done. Thanks. Bye.